Queer Eye More Than a Makeover is one of the most popular shows on Netflix since its debut in 2017. It's a reboot of its predecessor, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, that lasted between 2003 to 2007. Thanks to its reboot, a whole new generation of fans can be entertained watching the Fab Five teach regular people how to feel fierce in their everyday lives. This American series went outside the country in 2019 with its spin-off Queer Eye, We're in Japan. The focus of the show is the same, with the only difference being that the Fab Five is on the opposite side of the world. There are only 4 episodes of this series, so I thought it'd be fun to break down every episode of this spin-off for those that want a refresher on what occurred. This video will only focus on episode 1 titled Japanese Holiday, and there will be major spoilers throughout. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then please exit the video from this point forward. Otherwise, hope you enjoy. Episode 1, titled Japanese Holiday, begins with the Fab Five eating dinner with their Tokyo guide, Kiko Mizuhara, an American-Japanese model, actress, singer, and designer who is very popular. They discuss their first client, Yoko Sakuma, who is a 57-year-old hospice nurse. According to this episode's synopsis, Yoko has given up on being a woman and surrendered to neglect. Kiko explains that the Japanese term for giving up on being a woman is called Ona wo suteru. Kiko adds that a lot of Japanese women are pressured to look a certain way, so if they are not living to those standards, they would joke about it and say that they gave up on being a woman. Yoko agrees that she has chosen not to feel like a woman anymore, but it is for a good cause. Yoko opened up her home to help hospice patients feel comfortable during their final days. She started doing this after the death of her sister, Noriko, who she believed must have felt very lonely being away from home and stuck in a hospital before her passing. Yoko's efforts to prevent her patients from feeling that same loneliness is noble, but also an excuse to not care for herself. Yoko's friend and nominator, Yumiko, states that Yoko would sleep on the floor in sleeping bags while her patients would sleep in all available rooms of the house, including her own. Yumiko feels that it is time for Yoko to finally find a space to take care of herself. Karamo announces that the team's mission is to teach this selfless nurse to put herself first, and with that, they are down to business. On day 1, the Fab Five enter Yoko's Kuma-chan house and introduce themselves to her. They quickly discover that she has a love for cosplay, judging by her collection of funny wigs and costumes. Tan makes an off comment about how he'd fit right in Japan, with his shared love of dressing up. Yoko gets some private time with each Fab Five member on what adventures lie ahead of them. One of the highlights of this segment include her talking to Bobby and telling him that the Kuma-chan house is located right next to her home. It is used for community events to help bring people together, like drinking sake or hosting soccer classes. She later sits down with Karamo about her motivation to have a hospice house. She gives more detail about her late sister, who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Yoko really regretted leaving her sister in the ICU instead of keeping her home around family and friends, but now she makes up for that by providing comfort for her patients. Yoko recounts the peaceful faces she saw in her patients who had passed on, and gains satisfaction from that. While Karamo admires Yoko's kindness, he encourages the nurse to find more time to focus on herself, and with the help of him and his friends, Yoko will succeed in doing so. Yoko's journey begins on day 2 with Tan, where he introduces her to Kiko, who, alongside being known as a famous star, is also recognized for a unique fashion sense. Kiko says that for Japanese women, if they are not stylish in a conventional sense, then people will say that they've given up on being a woman. This is why she personally strives to go outside the box with her outfits, not just as a woman, but as a person. Kiko admits that despite being a celebrity, she still gets mocked for her fashion, but as long as she enjoys what she wears, then it doesn't matter to her. Yoko proceeds to try on several outfits that go outside of her comfort zone, and it helps her be more confident. She mentions that she feels like Audrey Hepburn, a British actress most notable for her role in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yoko absolutely adores Hepburn and wants to emulate her. We move on to what Yoko describes as her and Anthony's date, where they learn to make apple pie together. They prepare a French version of the traditional American dessert called tarte tatin. Yoko says something Anthony describes as poetic when she asks the chef what his taste of happiness is, to which Anthony replies, making food for other people and teaching others to make food brings him the most happiness. While the duo bake together, Yoko is not shy about flirting with Anthony, commenting on his slim figure. Once the pie is done, Yoko asks if she could feed Anthony, and after Anthony gives his consent, the pair feed one another a piece of pie with vanilla ice cream. The next day, Yoko spends time with Karamo in an ice cream parlor. Karamo wonders what Yoko wanted to be as a child, and she answers that she always wanted to be a mother. She never got that wish, but her sister had 2 boys. Unfortunately though, Yoko doesn't speak with them very often since their mother's passing. Their distance stems from a disagreement Yoko had with their father, her sister's husband, on how her sister was being treated in the hospital. Yoko confesses that because she thought her sister had more to live for, she wanted to take her sister's place. Karamo provides comforting words that express how Yoko needs to find forgiveness and live for herself in spite of how she feels, because her sister would have wanted that. Karamo encourages Yoko to say that she forgives herself, she did everything she could, and that her life has value. Just before they part, Karamo has a surprise for Yoko. They ride a Vespa like the one from Yoko's favorite movie, Roman Holiday, and drive away with the classical song Funiculi, Funicula playing in the background. Next, Yoko meets with Jonathan, who shares in some small talk before giving her a makeover. Jonathan expresses his admiration for people working in hospice since he had some personal experience with some kind nurses who cared for his stepfather. Jonathan gives Yoko a makeover, and she is pleased with it, saying that her bangs look like Hepburn's. On the final day, the gang reunites and does a traditional act that is normally done whenever a new place opens in Japan, but in this case, everyone pulls on ribbons in front of the Kuma-chan house, symbolizing a new start in Yoko's life. Yoko is introduced to her new home, which I will present the before and after here. Bobby sets up a special room solely for Yoko, where she can have her own bed, and adjoined to that room is a doorway to a garden in memory of her sister, Noriko. It's a location where she can take a breather from everything else in her life and talk to her sister and reclaim her inner peace. Yoko gives the team a mini fashion show, showing off more of her newfound confidence, before she thanks the Fab Five for their hard work in giving her back her life. The episode wraps up with the Fab Five and Kiko watching Yoko on television, greeting friends and family to the newly refurbished Kuma-chan house. She gives a speech about learning that she must have value in herself, and the Fab Five taught her that with love. Every episode of Queer Eye is enjoyable, and this was no exception. Watching the Fab Five help this compassionate lady find her spirit again after her loss is something you simply can't hate. It's one of those episodes you could watch over and over again to relive that fuzzy feeling in your heart and be reminded that there are good people in the world. No matter where someone comes from or how they look, we could all learn a little something from people unlike ourselves, and this episode proves that. If you enjoyed my breakdown, please like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below with any comments or questions. I'd be happy to reply. Look forward to my next breakdown. Until then, take care.